Get it with our latest New York Metropolitan post-game show presented by Prize Picks and SeatGeek. And today, a frigid day at Citi Field. You think the offense isn't going to show up. And while, yes, it wasn't a big offensive blowout for either club, the New York Mets rally back after losing the lead halfway through this ball game. Huascar Brosman cannot handle inherited runners. Freddie Peralta couldn't go 5 innings, but it does not matter. Another day, another extra innings matchup for the Amazons at Citi Field. Another day where they secure the walk-off victory. Ronnie Mauricio's first game as a New York Met this season comes in a pinch hit for Tyrone Taylor. See ya. That goes to the right side. It's over the head of Carroll or so, whoever was playing in right. I'm absolutely so amped up right now. Let's get the W spammed, everybody. How we doing, everybody? We're feeling electric. This is how you kickstart a series. Not only have the Mets walked off the Arizona Diamondbacks to kickstart their 3-game set, I'll be in attendance tomorrow there. I'll be in the press box. I'll be doing pre and post game coverage for you guys, so be on the lookout for that. Shout out to the New York Post, as always, our great friends there. As you guys know, I'm the co-host of the Straight Out Flushing podcast, which will have new episodes, including our feature there tomorrow, folks. But now that we saw another big victory, the Mets have secured 4 straight dubs from the road trip to now. Mets at home, it's been frigid every single game so far this season, but thankfully today, the offense was just enough. It was early, thanks to Francisco Lindor, that we're going to get into in a second. We're going to break down the entire ball game in a moment, but it was then not often really until you needed it late in this ball game, and thanks to Jared Young. Talk about brilliant decision making by Carlos Mendoza today. Normally you do not want to take the bat out of Mark Vientos' hands, but in this case, when you have a red hot Jared Young off the bench who wasn't a favorable pitching matchup, it worked. Then you see Ronnie Mauricio when Tyrone Taylor's looked solid coming in late in a ball game as a pinch hitter versus being a starter. Again, doesn't matter. He makes the smart moves. Mendy with the glasses is 4-0, everybody. I don't know who needs to hear this. Let me enlighten you, however. Carlos Mendoza cannot stop rocking the glasses. He needs to have them on every single game moving forward. I don't make the rules, but I'll break down the rules. Spam those W's as you chime in, everybody. How we feeling? We're vibing. Mets walk off the Arizona Diamondbacks today, headlined by Ronnie Mauricio's heroics that we see there in the 9th inning. Don't mind the lack of backdrop. Like I said, I'm in the process of a move at the moment. We're going to have this thing all looking pretty for you guys as soon as possible. Just not tomorrow, because I'll actually be at the ball game itself. So the backdrop will be nice Citi Field for each and every one of you. But spam those W's, everybody, and let's let it rip as we always do with the one, the only, the official WardyNYM post-game jingle, baby. Let's go! Shout out to my guys, Greg and Jordan, as always, with the WardyNYM post-game jingle. Love it or hate it, it is here to stay, everybody. And who is also here to stay, that is our amazing sponsors, that being at SeatGeek, that has you covered for all of your ticketing needs. Mets fans, I know that you guys want to attend Mets games this year. I know you want to save some dough attending Mets games this year. So there is no better ticketing company, app, anything here in the realm of ticketing that has you covered more than the official ticketing sponsor of the New York Mets and of WardyNYM. Let's check out our amazing friends at SeatGeek, everybody. Utilize our app today. They have a grading scale system 1 through 10, red to green, meaning if you purchase a ticket more in the red range, maybe 1 through 5 range, not a good bang for your buck. They're fair and they're honest because they have ones in the green range, 7 through 10. Really good bang for your buck. I've been using SeatGeek for years and I will continue to, regardless of their sponsorship here, but continue to use the promo code so that way you can save dough on your next ticket purchase. All you gotta do is click that link down below and use promo code WARDY10. Again, that is WARDY10 for 10% off your next ticket purchase. Thank you guys kindly for hearing not only our amazing friends at SeatGeek, but also our amazing friends at Prize Picks that have you covered for all things and sports fantasy. Folks, do not hesitate. Join the millions of users and sign up for America's #1 sportsbook app for daily fantasy player projections and labs, especially to all my New York residents watching this this as it is officially live in New York, everybody. You want to pick your lineups, you want to make your plays, you want to pick your more or less when looking at hits, strikeouts, you name it. Look no further, everybody. We're live in New York as we speak, and as you guys can see right here, my last play I did a couple days ago was fantastic. Roki Sasaki had more on these strikeouts, 3.5. We saw Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos have more on hits, and in the case of Alvarez, it was RBIs, runs, hits to at least get 0.5 or higher. We love to see that, so if you guys want to get in on this, do not hesitate, and all you got to do is click that link down below in the description and download the PrizePicks app today and use promo code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that is promo code HMA to get $50 in lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's going to be right, and folks, it is great to be right as the Mets have simply not stopped winning, okay? In a day where you're looking at the lineup, you're like, oh, I like this lineup. I don't know about you guys, but I personally like that lineup quite a bit today. And again, major kudos to Carlos Mendoza for it. I liked the early start with Francisco Lindor. I didn't like how Lindor ended his day today, obviously. I thought it was kind of a tale of two halves when looking at his offensive approach today, but it was early and that helped the Mets, which I will appreciate. We know that Lindor has performed well at home. That has not been the bugaboo with Lindor, as it really has been on the road the past calendar year. You know, we're looking at a 300 gap or so in the OPS from road versus home, or 250 at least. That's not a good thing. So I would love to see Lindor find more consistency in his game this year. I know you guys would as well, but outside of that error that we saw in the first inning, a lot of encouraging signs for Lindor early with his at-bats today. Jorge Polanco looked very good, that we're going to get into here in a second, everybody. Again, this is how the Mets lineup started top to bottom and actually how it ended, including Ronnie Mauricio going in there. So the Mets did out-hit the Arizona Diamondbacks today, not in necessarily hits, but they did in runs that we saw, obviously, having themselves 4-3. But technically, the Diamondbacks had more hits than the New York Mets today, as they had 9 hits to the Mets 8. Both had an error that we saw, and in the case of the Mets, thankfully, it wasn't too costly with Lindor. However, having Freddie Peralta have to work more when the same thing happened to Peralta last time he pitched, which was on the road trip in St. Louis. Again, Lindor needs to buy this guy a steak dinner if he hasn't already. He just wants him to make sure he can't give us 5 clean innings of work. Like, I don't understand that. But again, I'm here nitpicking outside of what was a solid day in Mets land all in all. Brett Beatty, I was encouraged with what we saw with him, not only in right field, but obviously putting the bat on the ball and driving in a run for the Mets. We didn't get too much from the latter half of the order today. Carson Bench is, I believe, now on an 0-for-21 skid, the longest among all Mets, even though he got robbed of a hit right at the end of this game. I think we can all agree there. That was a gorgeous catch made sliding and right. However, that went in hand because of the wind, which has been absolutely frigid at Citi Field. I'm grateful I can be in the press box tomorrow with everyone else in media, because I do not enjoy being at Mets games this time of year when I'm freezing my little ass off, and understandably so when I'm down the first baseline or whatever the case is going to be. So let's go into it. Let's break down this ball game, everybody. The pitching, like I said, Freddie Peralta, and the line. If you didn't watch the game, you're thinking, oh, Freddie had a terrible day. It wasn't as bad as you think. I didn't like the walks, obviously, with Freddie, but this had a lot more to do. Unfortunately, with Huascar Brosman not being able to secure that final out there in the 5th inning without allowing multiple runs to come in, because Huascar Brosman without inherited runners, no bueno. Huascar Brosman coming in clean without anyone on base, he's nails. So this is something that we have learned over the past calendar year and a half. I was nervous for that exact reason when he came into the ball game, but I also know that he's someone that you should be able to rely upon in that circumstance. So I really can't nitpick Mendy too much there with that decision. I know you guys may feel differently. Again, I've been very critical about certain bullpen decisions that Carlos Mendoza has made, but outside of the eye test, I can understand still wanting Brosman to get more looks in a game where you need to bring him in before the 5th inning is even wrapped up. You obviously don't want to have to use a Raley, a Williams, and obviously a Weaver that early in the game. So Brosman was the man of choice if it wasn't going to be, say, a Tobias Myers, and because of that, sadly, was to the Mets' detriment, but thankfully, it wasn't to their failure in losing this ball game as they won it in the end. And a massive shout out to the former New York Yankees and both Devin Williams and Luke Weaver today. They got out of their own messes unscathed. They were nails when you need them to. And now both Devin Williams and Luke Weaver, listen to this, class. Listen up. 10 innings, 0 earned runs, 10 strikeouts combined between the two so far this season. That is what I call a good investment early for David Stearns looking at this Mets bullpen. Julio, yes, you will see me tomorrow, my guy. I will be there at Citi Field. I'll be freezing my butt off like everyone else there when I'm walking around. Thank you so much for the comments, everybody. Mario with the $2 holla, pardon me. Cole Work and Cole W, I know you're freezing there. Thank you so much for the dono. Jonas says, how about the law firm of Williams and Weaver? Seriously, beautifully put, my friend. Thank you so much for that donation. Hope you're well. Shout out to Nick. Shout out to Bama. Shout out to Master Matt. All my amazing members in here. Stephen Kelly, how are we doing? Dave Caplitz, my guy. How are you? Great member. Steve, LFGM, Mets, great member. Eddie, how are you? Great member in here. We got Jesse, great member as always. Brian Torres, great member. Alfredo, great member. We got, pardon me, I'm going to butcher the name. I'm going to go with Deloney, how we doing? Great member. Thank you for chiming in. Steven, great member. Drop 5, great member going up the list here. We got Michael. We got G Money. We got Freddie. We got Billy. We got Franklin. We got a Clay with a $2 hollow. Says, let's go, Ronnie. We got Daniel with the $2 hollow. Says, Bichette has looked atrocious so far. And the best part is that this is the worst that Bichette's likely going to look like all year, and the Mets are 7-4 on the season. Could be a lot worse, thankfully. Jojo, how we doing? LFGM indeed, even though I will say Bo did get robbed of what should have been a hit. Beautifully scooped up there at second base late in this ball game. Let's go up here even more. Thank you so much, Brian Torres. Great member if I didn't shout you out already. Everyone hitting that like and subscribe button on your way, and let me know your initial thoughts, reactions, and most certainly analysis. The Mets walking off today by a final score that you guys see of, yes, 4-3. Give me 1 second to try to get my damn camera to focus because it just went perfectly out of focus for me. But I think we're going to get there. I think I can. Hold on, everybody. You're going to get a little Wardy ASMR in the meantime. Okay. That works. We'll work with that. Okay. I just realized I don't have a hat on. Where the hell's my hat? That normally doesn't happen. I apologize. I usually rock my Mets cap, but we're not doing it today. I'm probably not going to wear one tomorrow because I'm going to be reporter Wardy, so it doesn't really matter. But anyways, it feels sacrilegious doing these without my hat because I'm always rocking a Mets hat. Clay's Bigelow T&D, T Proudly. We got to bring them on as a sponsor. We already have SeatGeek, the official ticketing sponsor of the New York Mets. We've worked with Mumu this past year, the official sponsor of the New York Mets as well. We've worked with many Mets-related sponsors. We got to bring them on. But enough of me rambling. Let's break it down. Thank you so much again for chiming in, everybody. Hit that like and subscribe on your way. And let's begin here in the first inning. And the good part is that this game is going to be pretty easy to break down because not too much happened. But at the same time, there was defensive blunders. There was some questionable calls. There was some good calls made where there was challenges involved versus bad. Let's break it down because in the first, right away, Ketel Marte, who's a hits god, who the Mets were in the market for at the traded line that we saw, we see him get on with a single as a surprise. Absolutely nobody. Ketel Marte is going to hit until he retires. He's just one of those guys. Corbin Carroll thankfully struck out. Beautiful job there by Freddie Peralta early, getting him on that curveball way down and away in the zone, getting him a bite. Perdomo flew out. Gabriel Moreno walks, and then Adrian Del Castillo would be out as well. So a nice clean inning of work there for Freddie Peralta, who gets out of his own jam. So again, wasn't sexy, but got the job done. We see in the bottom of the first, Francisco Lindor led things off there that we saw with a single to Mr. Corbin Carroll. Lindor with the leadoff hit. That's what you want from your plate setter naturally, especially Lindor, who's been very Jekyll and Hyde on what you're getting so far this year offensively. Bo Bichette, again, getting the offense early for the Mets. Without Bichette, again, the Mets don't get the line moving the way that they did early in this ball game. Bichette gets a single that we see to Carroll opposite field right after Keith Hernandez called it because we see Bo go oppo all the time. He spreads for all fields like crazy. Polanco had himself a single, and you know what? I didn't tweet this or anything, but I mean this is the God honest truth. I felt really good about Jorge Polanco today. I'm like, oh, the Mets had an off day yesterday. If he's going to be in the lineup today, he's going to probably hit well, even with this being a frigid day at Citi Field. And let me hold that hell true. I like Polanco's at-bats today. He had himself a multi-hit game, and like I said, Polanco's just a vet. Like, he's a gamer. I do think he's going to be a nice, productive player for the Mets this year as long as they can be smart and diligent in keeping him healthy. We saw Roberts strike out, but that was like his worst at-bat of the day. Luis Roberts' eye at the plate today, effing brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Should not have 2 strikeouts. It should be 3 walks, okay? It should have been an ability to challenge a call, but unfortunately, he waited too long. If you do not challenge a call within like a split second of that pitch being thrown, they go on to the next, even though that was definitely ball 4 on him in his final at-bat. I digress. As we continue on, Brett Beatty makes it a 1-0 Mets lead thanks to the sac fly there to center, and comes the scores Lindor, and the Mets are up 1-0. Vientos would do nothing in his at-bat or really do anything today, but that's okay. We don't need Vientos to be our savior every day. I think that's a big problem if the Mets are leaning on him this early when he wasn't even a certainty as to at all what he would be heading into the year, right? And he still isn't. He has a lot more work to do. Happy with what I'm seeing, though. Fantastic stuff. Arenado Arenado in the second inning lines out. Vargas would then reach on the fielding error by Lindor, which again, we're not happy about. Lindor needs to clean it up. That goes without saying. I know he's dealing with obviously returning from the hand surgery, so I will give him some benefit of the doubt for now, but at the end of the day, he's still playing out there. He needs to be himself more than anything. Alek Thomas would get on there with a walk, and then we would see Barroso would be out on the sac bunt. However, because of that, we would see runners get to second and third. Good move over, and thankfully, Ketel Marte, usually the hits god, not getting a hit in this time as he would strike out swinging. Beautifully done by Freddie Peralta. Another inning where Freddie did not look sexy, right? He had to work around two guys on, but was able to get out of the jam unscathed. But working again, not great to begin the ball game, having 4 runners on base throughout your first 2. Semien with the pop out that we would see there. Nice catch by Nolan Arenado. Carson Bench with the ground out. Alvey with the 2-out walk. Good at bat by him. And then he's driven in because Francisco Lindor has himself an RBI triple right over the head there that we see in right to Carroll off the wall or so. He does not technically get a triple. He technically gets a double, but he gets all the way to third base because of how it was botched coming in. Thankfully, Corbin Carroll did have the throwing error, and that was costly. More costly than what happened with Lindor that we saw in the first inning himself. So the Mets take an early 2-0 lead that we see throughout the first 2. Bichette does nothing. In the third, we see a 1-2-3 for Freddie Peralta. His, I believe, only 1-2-3 inning of the day. Let's double check, though, but I'm almost certain. We see them Polanco strike out a half inning later. Robert work a walk, having the ABS call on his side. Again, Robert's eye at the plate has just looked so night and day from what you would see last year over the past couple years, collectively during his time with the not New York Mets, I apologize, the Chicago White Sox. So it's been really encouraging to see Robert grind out these at-bats the way that he has, because so many White Sox fans are saying, oh, get ready for him to be just this obnoxious free swinger where he's constantly looking like garbage. And I'm like, if I'm being honest, even Robert at his worst, I still think is going to be a productive player for the New York Mets this year. Alfredo, thank you for the donation. I will get to that shortly. Continue to hit that like and subscribe button on your way in, everybody, as we're breaking down the latest walk-off victory for the Mets, taking down the Arizona Diamondbacks today by a final score 4-3. Ronnie Mauricio with the Heroics, who have that on their bingo card today. If you did, I want to know your lotto tickets, because clearly you're telling the future. Brett Beatty with the ground into a double play. That'll do it for the inning. The hitman could not get the hit there, and we advance forward. In the fourth inning, Del Castillo would be struck out on the foul tip. Arenado gets out. Vargas gets a 2-out single, and then a pop out by Alek Thomas. So another clean inning of work for Freddie Peralta, but he did still allow at least 1 runner to get on base. So 3 of the first 4 innings that Freddie Peralta works today, he does have at least 1, if not more, runners on base. So again, only had 1 true clean 1-2-3 inning today where he didn't allow anything to happen. With 2 outs, we would see Carson Bench get on with a walk. And surprisingly, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first time Carson Bench got on base with a walk this year and didn't actually steal the bag. I could be wrong, but it feels like more often than not when Bench has gotten on to first this year, in any way possible, right? He has not hesitated to run to second base. We've seen him steal bags pretty good. I think he already has, 4 this year? At worst 3, but I'm pretty sure he's got 4. So he's been stealing bags early and often for the Mets, but he needs to get on base more, as he, again, is currently on a 0-for-21 skid. Not ideal, regardless of the fact that he's just getting his career started. You want him to lock in, hopefully sooner than later. Alvarez would get on with a hit, so again, Alvey being productive today. Alvarez doing his thing. I've been very happy with him so far this season for the most part. Alvey gets on, and I know defensively he leaves a bit to be desired. I get that. And then Lindor unfortunately pops out to Arenado when that was another opportunity for the Mets to pass a bit more. Regardless, we now head to the 5th. We're in the 5th inning. Back-to-back strikeouts on both Barrosa and Ketel Marte. Ketel Marte striking out twice today is a blessing in itself. That's not something that typically happens. And for Freddie Peralta, he worked fantastic back-to-back counts, but then he gives up a hit to a very good Corbin Carroll. And then he walks Geraldo Perdomo, and that is what really sets the stage for the end of the day for Freddie Peralta, okay? Because 2 outs, you just need to get that final out there. The pitch count's worked up already. Now he has 2 on, 2 out, and he needs to get this final out on Gabby Moreno. Like, if he does not get him out, his day is done. He knows his day is done. Everyone watching knows his day is done, and that's exactly what happened. He didn't get him out. Instead, he hit him. He hit him on a breaking ball inside, and that's not what you want, because that does it for Freddie Peralta's day. Freddie leaves the bases loaded for Huascar Brazoban. It doesn't matter that it's 2 outs. Brazoban, when looking at having inherited runners versus having no one on base is a completely different picture. And I'm not just talking out of my derriere with this. If you guys have followed the platform, if you've been following the Mets since Huascar Brosman has been acquired 2 years ago, you would know damn well that Brosman has not looked the same with inherited runners. It just has not been a good thing for him thus far. And it's unfortunate because you want him to be able to handle those roles and help when the Mets face adversity. But it's like all we needed was one out there. And of course, before we got the out, 3 runs have to come in and score because of course they do, right? You see right away it's a tie ball game. Del Castillo gets a single there on a line drive to Beatty to right, Oppo. And then afterwards we would see not Oppo, pulled. Then we would see Nolan Arenado, of course, smoke himself a double after the mound visit, and that makes it a 3-2 ball game. And when you looked at where Brosman placed that pitch for the double especially, you'll have a bit of an understanding because this was literally 68 miles per hour off the bat on the changeup that he just got the end of the bat with. Very frustrating, to say the least, that was, at a moment, looking like it could have been the game-winning run for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Thankfully, that was not the case, but a frigid day at Citi Field, the Mets get a early offense, and then they blow it, because when you look at the baseball that was hit with Del Castillo, that was absolutely demolished because Brazo hunted middle meatball. Color me shocked, but it wasn't a fastball. It was a 90-mile-per-hour changeup, literally middle, that he smoked 107 off the bat. So one was just hit enough. The other was absolutely demolished. Either way, Huascar Brosman, I love you, Brazo, but we need you to handle those moments in the future. I get it. It's more on the blame of Peralta, 100%. He's the one who allowed those runners to get on base. I'm just saying I always hate circumstances like that, especially because I feel like, obviously, looking back, Freddie probably could have gone and out that inning, But I'm getting hung up on something that shouldn't matter. The Mets walked it off. Let's get into this. In the bottom of the 5th inning, Bo Bichette would strike out. Then we see Polanco with the fly out. Another walk by Luis Robert, who looked really, really good. This was a 8-pitch walk. I can't get over the way that Robert's at-bats have been, guys. I really can't. He starts off the count 1-1, and then it gets to 2-2, and then we get ourselves to a 3-2. And then he's hacking away. And then he finally takes that cutter way down and away that wasn't even close to the zone by Zach Gallen, who's been having a better start to this season than what he was doing last year, Gallen, now returning to Arizona, the East Coast native. I believe he's from South Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. And then we see Brett Beatty call down strikes after the review on the challenge because, of course, either way, Beatty strikes out. We head to the 6th inning. We're in the 6th inning. Luis Garcia comes in. Garcia hasn't looked overly sharp so far for the Mets, but thankfully a 6th inning, a lower leverage circumstance in the sense that it's not 7th or 8th, and he handles it in stride without a problem. He gives the Mets a nice 1-2-3. No strikeouts, but no problem for Luis Garcia, who looked actually very good. Very encouraged to see him get Ketel Marte out as a final out of that inning as well. As we continue to the bottom of the 6th, we see a 1-2-3 for the Mets offense against Ryan Thompson. Just couldn't get anything going from Vientos down to Benj. And then in the 7th inning, we would see Perdomo line out, and then Moreno with his 3rd double of the season. This one goes Oppo to Carson Bench, and that's all she wrote for the inning, thankfully, which you were still sweating. I was sweating about. So shout out to Luis Garcia again for doing a very good job working 2 scoreless innings. By far the best outing that Garcia has had as a New York Mets so far. I think that goes without saying. In the bottom of the 7th, we would then see the New York Mets go down in order as well. The Mets challenge, and you would see the call confirmed, unfortunately, on the strikeout, on one of the strikes, rather, to Bo Bichette. We then get to the 8th inning, and in the 8th inning, Nolan Arenado would get on with a leadoff single off of Brooks Raley. But guys, Brooks Raley's all reliable for a reason. He entered today's game as the best pitcher in baseball in Pro Stuff Plus per our guy in Pitch Profiler on X, if you guys don't know. Very good account, breaking down all advanced metrics regarding pitching. He and TJ Stats are like the go-tos, and I like them both. And he had him all the way at 10% above league average entering today's outing. And while Raley, again, did give up that single, it didn't matter because then he gets Vargas out with the ground out. Then we see there, with the force out. Then we see Lucan Baker called out on strikes. Beautifully placed there by Brooks Raley, because what he would do, really, in this 6-pitch at-bat is he dots a sweeper so perfect down and away that, again, if you were not Brooks Raley, you were not able to do that. And when I say down and away, I meant to say down and actually more, it's opposite because he's a lefty. So we're talking more dotted outside than we are, away if it was a lefty-lefty matchup. So let me just correct myself there. But Brooks Raley is just so much fun to watch. He just continues to impress. And I'm grateful that the Mets have Raley, because if they did not have Raley, they would be in a 10 times worse position with their bullpen. Not just for the stance of needing a lefty, but really needing someone that can come in and handle everything and really hold the fort down in any circumstance. Like Brooks Raley has really been that guy, or has rarely been that guy, even though he rarely has messed up. I know a lot of wordplay there. But you see Barossa strike out swinging, thankfully, and that does it there for the inning. So Brooks Raley works around that one hit without a problem. We get to the bottom of the 8th, or Jorge Polanco would get a leadoff single. Then we would see Tyrone Taylor come in a pinch run. Again, perfect time to pinch run for him, I think. We would see a BS call on Luis Robert for a called strike 3, because that was a ball every day of the week. Oh, they're actually, you know what? Now that I'm looking at it on the zoom in, this might have gotten called a strike if they reviewed it. It was really, really close. Top inside on the sinker from Waisaka, literally perfectly dotted just outside the box. But from what I'm seeing, it looks like it would have just nipped the outside corner. So one of those calls that you hate if it goes against you, but you love if it goes in favor of yourself, right? So Robert, now that I reviewed it, I'm going to retract my initial statement that it was a clear ball. That one was borderline, but that's still going to go if that's actually challenged. So I digress. Brett Beatty then would get on with a single, thankfully. Jared Young coming in for Mark Vientos. Normally not a time where you actually want to go ahead and take Vientos out of the ball game. Even though he hadn't had a hit today, I think we can all agree Mark Vientos has been just so effing nails all season long thus far. You have to do something along those lines. So to see Jared Young come in, I was like, okay, I don't hate this. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. Let's see how it plays out naturally. And Jared Young gets the bat on the ball, does what he needs to do, gets a sac fly, ties the ball game 3-3. Can't really ask for much more. Would Vientos have gotten a hit in that at bat? Maybe. He's hit righties. It's not like he can't do that this year, obviously. He's done it plenty. But it's nice to see the situational hitting go in favor for Carlos Mendoza today, because I, again, did not hate the decision-making. The thing that I actually disliked most today by Mendoza is Brosman coming in for Peralta, but I still understood it. There are decisions that Mendy has made this year which I personally have not been able to wrap my head around. Like, logically, still does not add up for me, you know? But in the case of this, a lot of things made sense today. And to him, I give him kudos. Ketel Marte with a leadoff hit, because, of course, you're not going to stop him all game long as we get to Devin Williams coming in. And then Corbin Carroll strikes out. Big strikeout there by Devin Williams. And yes, he didn't get him with the changeup. He actually got him with the forcing fastball, which was perfectly placed if he was going to be able to rip it. But he swung right through it instead, so we'll take that. Then Perdomo flies out. Moreno with a 2-out hit. And then we would see Del Castillo strike out swinging. Filled and absolutely amped up on the mound, which is not a shocker. Devin Williams feeling electric. Again, D. Will has not looked sexy every time he's been out here, but what has Devin Williams shown early for the New York Mets? He's shown a lot of Edwin Diaz strides in the sense of being able to get out of your own mess without a problem, or even getting motivated when you start your own jam of allowing one or two runners to get on base. You know, Devin Williams is one of the best relievers in baseball. And it's not just because he has a changeup that is virtually unhittable when it is right, but it's just how meticulous he is in the way that he pitches when he is now dealing with traffic. You know, the main reason why he had issues with the Yankees last year that people just seem to forget or purposely disregard is more so the fact that he was someone that was getting acclimated to New York more than anything else. You know, he said it verbatim to media at the end of the year that, you know, he had an adjustment period going from Milwaukee, obviously, to New York and dealing with the hecticness, dealing with, obviously, just travel, like logistical things that a player needs to be on top of in order to get proper rest, you know, proper health, everything else in between, just have the right mentality. So it took him a little bit, but once he got there, he was fine. And this is exactly why you buy in on players like that, especially when you know the player as well as David Stearns has known for a number of years, going back to his start up there in Milwaukee and helped him become the closer that he is now today. I digress. Devin Williams, again, does a fantastic job. Sadly, the Mets could not get the job done in the bottom of the ninth. We see again, Benj get absolutely robbed by Barossa. Tremendous contact there. Lindor strikes out swinging, sadly, and we get to extras. And in extras, we would see Luke Weaver come in, 3 up, 3 down. Weaver's world, Dream Weaver, not having a guy get on base in extras is literally magical. And the best part, he got some huge outs that we saw. That pop out on Arenado, tremendous to make sure the runner doesn't move over. And then for Robert to play on that ball the way that he did on the second out of the inning to make sure that nothing was going to happen or a run could come in to score. And then Tim Tawa to strike out swinging. Beautiful job by Luke Weaver today. Very impressed. That's what you want to see, regardless as to who you're playing. And guys, I have to be completely honest. I had a fat smirk on my face when we saw Paul Sewald come in this ball game, because I knew for certain the Mets were going to win this damn game when Paul Sewald came into this game. Paul Sewald is not the same Paul Sewald that I used to be, and he's a guy that I had a good feeling. I really did. So Bo Bichette would ground out to move the runner over, and Lindor to third base, and then Ronnie Mauricio again coming in to pinch hit for Tyrone Taylor. A good matchup when looking at a lefty versus righty, and he just absolutely demolishes a four-seam fastball. It was Paul Sewald literally served up the biggest meatball of the day. You think I'm joking, class? Let's take a look together, okay? You're gonna get, if you guys did not see this, let me enlighten you. Look at where this pitch is right now. Look at where this pitch is. Literally middle four seam at 90 miles per hour. Ronnie Mauricio would have had to have been Helen Keller at the plate in order to miss that. And even Helen probably would have made contact as long as she heard the ball coming in time. Again, 90 miles per hour, you could read a book during that time period. So it wouldn't shock me if you actually made contact. I'm only half joking as I say this, okay? Ronnie Mauricio just demolishes that 107. Pull to the right side beautifully. Mets go on to walk this one off. Literally just the worst 0-2 pitch imaginable. I have no clue what Paul Sewald was thinking. And JTB, you're 100% right. That was a horrible bit. Like, I don't understand what the thought process was there. It's 0-2. Ronnie's hacking at literally everything off the bench, and you're going fastball up on him. Why wouldn't you stay fastball up? Did you just completely miss your location there? If so, it makes sense. But, like, why wouldn't you just run it back with another fastball upstairs, you know, at literally his nips or something? Like, it's just so funny to me. It really is. That's a great way for the game to end. So, Ronnie Mauricio with a nice little boost of confidence to begin his Mets season. And as Carlos Mendoza said pregame today, you know, it's going to be one of those things with Ronnie where the playing time is going to fluctuate. He's going to have fairly limited playing time, but it doesn't mean that he's not going to have his opportunities. And hopefully he runs with them when he does get them. And he did that today. Shout out Broken Jester, great member. Let's effing go. So happy I stuck that one out. And I'm so glad he did too, my friend. That's absolutely fantastic. And shout out to you, Broken Jester, for being in here, one of our many attendees at last year's Wardy Day, as we have a perfect transition, everybody. And before we break down more on the pitching, our key takeaways and our grades, the offense, and then getting your comments, questions, and concerns, let's let it rip briefly, everybody, with our tremendous announcement that we have, in case you guys don't know, and that is our second annual Wardy Day, this time 2026. If you guys want tickets, get them while they still last. We have more people that just bought tickets over this past weekend. We do not have a lot that we are working with right now, folks. If you guys want to get them now. We have a lot of people that attended last year's Wardy Day that already have dibs on tickets that want to be involved. To others that have attended Wardy Day and want to attend again, get them while you still can. Link down below in the description. For those that don't know Wardy Day, I'll be very brief with this. This is June 12th, Mets versus Braves. It's a full hangout with your guy Wardy at a Mets game that we do every single year, and hopefully our first of multiple that we do this season as well. I'm glad that we're doing this one in June, so that way we can set up more before the year ends, as long as everything goes well. We sold out last year, an electric experience right after that we saw the traded line last year in that matchup against the San Francisco Giants. And you're going to not only get pregame on-field access with yours truly for a group photo op, you're going to get an $18 food and drink voucher for anywhere around the stadium for the most part. You're also going to be getting exclusive WardyNYM merchandise only to people who attend this event with the Wardy Day 2026 logo on it. Front and back for the most part is what the design is going to be, and that'll be for everyone that solely attends. Nothing more than that. They will never be made again. They will be the first and only of its kind. You also are going to be able to hang out with me throughout the entire game. I'm going to be doing fun interviews, short content. We're going to be doing a post game after the game. It's going to be a nice left field lounge setting that you guys will see, where it's booth settings and not typical standardized seating, so you can move around. And the best part, to some of you guys who enjoy alcoholic beverages, it's open bar. So from pregame all the way until they stop serving, you're essentially going to have an exclusive bar area solely to yourselves and some other Mets fans, but again, very limited because this is more an exclusive area, all to yourself from pregame until they stop serving. So if you guys love the sound of all of that, check out our tickets, link down below to Wardy Day 2026 while they still last. And thank you so much for checking them out in advance. Questions about or reactions I will get into as soon as we're done breaking down the ball game. Okay, we will have an exclusive segment solely for that, so be on the lookout for it. It'll be here shortly. So let's talk more on this pitching, because Freddie Peralta, while he wasn't his best today, I wouldn't say he was his absolute worst. Again, he was just working counts every single inning. So that alone wasn't overly helpful. And then to see Huascar Brosnan not be able to get that final out until obviously everyone came in to score, the bases were clear, that too is not ideal. But I do want to make note of a couple of things. The four-seam fastball was a little down today, but it's completely because of the weather. Okay, it was freezing at Citi Field today, and it will be tomorrow too, unfortunately. That's why they moved the times. But the four-seam fastball was thrown a lot today. I think a little too much by Freddie, 48% of the time. I'd like to see that a little down. I'd like to see a little bit more of a mix with his array of pitches, especially depending on certain team and matchups, maybe throwing a little bit more of the slider in there. But I could understand, depending on how many righties versus lefties are playing, that goes in hand with the usage. The curveball at 24% of the arsenal sat 78 to 79 today. And why that is notable is that was 3 miles per hour higher than his yearly average. So interesting to see where he's going to settle and sit with when it comes to the curveball velocity, because it was up today, which is not a bad thing. The changeup at 20% of the arsenal that we saw was right around 87. The slider at 8% of the arsenal around 82, and the slow curve, which he threw just once, was at 75. So Freddie Peralta, everybody, he did not have the sharpest day. I'm going to give Freddie 4.2 innings of 3 earned run, 3 hit, 3 walk, 5 strikeout baseball. I'm going to give Freddie a 5.5 out of 10 today. Like I said, I don't think that he was the worst thing, but I don't think he did really anything to overly move the needle either. It was not great to see him only have one clean inning where he didn't allow anyone to get on base. He was working around traffic the entire day. He was struggling. And like I said, this was a tougher day at Citi Field, so maybe I'm getting a little too tough on him. If you want to give him a grade closer to 6 or higher, I understand. But for me, I have to go 5.5 because regardless of the weather, we expect more from Freddie Peralta. And if he was just able to get out of his own mess and maybe not hit Gabby Moreno with the backdoor curveball, maybe, just maybe, he has himself a better outing. But regardless, Freddie, we're expecting more from. We'll get more from, but his pitch count was worked big time today because his day ended at 4.2 innings and 101 pitches. Yeah, just you need more than that from Freddie, and he knows that too. He'll be the first to hold himself accountable, which is why I'm not worried. Collectively with the pitching, though, today, if we're going to grade the pitching as a whole, allowing just 3 earned runs across 11 innings, the pitching as a whole today is going to get a rock-solid 8 out of 10, and that has everything to do with what we saw pretty much from Garcia down, okay? From not only 2 fantastic innings of work, Raley, Williams, and Weaver, especially for Devin Williams to get out of his own mess the way that he did. Really, really good stuff. And like I said, I know it was freezing at Citi Field, so if you guys want to give Freddie a higher grade than what I did, I respect that. I'm not going to give you hell for that at all. Again, maybe I'm being a little too stern with him on it. The more that I say it, the more that I kind of think it. Regardless, I need to see my star to get at least 5 innings, okay? When he can't give me at least 5 innings and runs are charged against you one way or another, it's not going to look too great, obviously. But regardless, let me know your thoughts, everybody, in this one about my grade. I'm giving a full 8 out of 10 on the pitching, allowing just 3 earned runs and a total of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They did allow 9 hits, but again, they did a very good job on limiting the damage after those runners came on base. And then on the hitting end, this is how the lineup ended for the New York Mets. So let's begin with how it started. Francisco Lindor, 2 for 5 with the 2 runs scored, is now batting 167 with 626 OPS. He's got to climb that ladder. So does Bo Bichette, but Bo's actually doing better on the contact ability, as Bo, who went 1 for 5 today, has now a 200 average and a 466 OPS. Jorge Polanco, 2 for 4 today. Again, productive day for Jorge. 222 average, 623 OPS. Tyrone Taylor had the run scored that we saw. 154 average, 539 OPS. Ryan Mauricio is batting 1,000 with a 2,000 OPS because he had the walk-off hit today. Luis Robert had a pair of walks, 313 average, 882 OPS. Very good at-bats by Robert today. I know he didn't have a hit, but it reminded me of the at-bats on the original homestand with Jorge Polanco, where he was just, again, doing a really good job grinding out on bats and getting on base. Mark Vientos over 3, 417 with over 1,000 OPS. Jared Young had himself the RBI sac fly, 385 with a 976. Simeon 0 for 231 with a 670. Benj over 3, 091 on the average and a 393 on the OPS. And Francisco Eltrel Alvarez 1 for 3 with the runs scored and the walk, 296 average, 1,000 OPS. Mets offense today, I'm going to give a collective grade. Given the weather, and they still got 8 hits, I'm going to give the Mets a 5 out of 10 for their offense today. Could have been a lot worse. We've seen many Mets games where it's frigid and they don't show up at all. And the fact that the Mets rallied back, I thought was very important in this one as well. So collective offense, I'm going to give 5 out of 10. But overall, very happy to see them rally back after initially having that 2-0 lead, to then losing 3-2, to then tying it late in this ball game that we saw in the 8th inning, to then winning it in extras. Again, these little things with situational hitting and, again, just proper fundamental baseball are things that the Mets did so poorly last year and was so Jekyll and Hyde as to when you could expect it, that was such a key factor as to why the Mets ultimately went last year over 70 with runners in scoring position as you eventually got there to the 9th inning. If you were just down 1 run, it really didn't matter. So let's see. Wasn't nice towards you last week, and I'd like to sincerely apologize. That's okay, Caesar. I don't know what you said to me, but I appreciate the apology, okay? The one good thing about what I do is I talk to so many Mets fans every single day and every single week. I get both a lot of love, and I get fair share of comments of either people sharing a differing opinion, which is completely fine, or just something absolutely heinous. You know, I've gotten death threats since my first 2 weeks of doing YouTube, and I'm not joking. So you have to be thick-skinned early on this, and I really don't care whatever comments come the way. And if there's a comment that I don't like, then the person just gets booted or banned, and I go on with my day. I don't think about it. So thank you for the apology. I really appreciate that, but know that I'm okay with whatever it is that you may have said. So thank you, though, for going out your way to do that. That does mean a lot. Let's continue on now, everybody. Let's answer those comments, questions, and concerns. I know we got donations to get to. I know my camera loves to continue to go in and out of focus, so that's something that I don't appreciate at the moment. But nonetheless, the show must go on. So with that being said, we're going to cut things off for our replay viewers now. But everyone watching live, you guys stay put and stay here. Let me get to those comments. Let me get to all that you're feeling and thinking here on this Tuesday evening as the Mets take down the Arizona Diamondbacks by a final score today of 4-3 in extra innings. Can I just get this damn thing to focus? Like, please. Hold on. This backdrop is what's killing me. I need to put stuff on the wall. That's why. You guys can see my little white hairs growing in. Look at how much this Mets team stresses me out. Not just being a father. It's those white hairs are very much from this Mets team. Don't get it twisted. All right, guys. Let's continue on the live show to everyone watching a replay. This is where we're cutting things off. Let's go Mets, baby. Let us know your thoughts down below. Peace out.